Hello there, and thank you for joining our program. I'm Karim Zachary, and this is the English News Edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. To the headlines. New incentives are granted to agriculture during the Council of Ministers meeting to encourage farmers and ensure food security. Due to the unprecedented rise of COVID-19 cases, a vaccination campaign is launched at the level of universities to curb this pandemic. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, reiterates his full support for the national football team despite its defeat versus Equatorial Guinea in the African Cup of Nations tournament. Good evening. Those were the headlines first in our news. And in El Wed province, cereal production is looking good this year, thanks to the use of new threshing harvest techniques and aid from the public authorities. The region is becoming a pole of this sector. Let's follow this report by Leticia Sidqawi.
We are in the region of Bengisha in the province of El Wed. Here the land is fertile, hence this profusion of farms dedicated to cereal farming. This year, the harvest threshing season is already exceptional.
Thank God, thanks to the techniques used in the threshing harvest operation, in coordination with the UNAP services of the province of Biskra, we have a quality product.
This season, we expect record production to be even better than the previous year.
Cereal farming is a highly strategic sector that the public authorities must absolutely support.
Today, we are here to accompany and support the region's agriculture that operates in this highly strategic sector.
The province of El Wed has witnessed a significant advance in cereal production in recent years. The campaign of harvest threshing in progress for a few days now already knows a record production.
The farmers of Lawat province have succeeded in improving the production of dried fruits in the region thanks to the aid given by investment sector. The details with Rani Al-Bahri.
We are in one of the many dried fruit farms in the province of Lawat. Despite the soil's very dry nutrients, the farmers have succeeded in planting pistachios, apricot and even almond trees. Varieties that have proven to be perfectly adapted to this quality of soil, so the production has literally increased in recent years. At the beginning, we didn't have enough experience in growing pistachios. Thanks God, today we have made a lot of progress. As farmers of Lawat province, we are ready to invest in the cultivation of dried fruit only if we get large areas of exploitation for this type of fruit trees. We have benefited from financial aid of 30 million dinars as regard to the cultivation of fruit trees such as almond, pistachio and apricot trees, a program drawn up by the Direction of Agriculture of the province, which has given all the facilitation to farmers for the cultivation of these dried fruits. Some farmers began to become aware of the economic interest of this type of cultivation. Today, areas of several hectares are reserved for the cultivation of pistachio. The plantations are mainly located in many provinces, such as Lawat province.
Moving on to economy, the Customs Authority is setting up procedures and facilities for the benefit of economic operators in order to enable the Algerian product to enter foreign markets. The details with Mesa Dumas.
The SH 2022 harmonized system of the Customs Department is implementing its 17th generation to keep Algeria at the forefront in its classification of goods and merchandise and to facilitate customs identification process by coding goods according to international standards.
At the beginning of January, there was a launch for the Harmonized System of Customs project, and there are approximately 351 customs. The goal is to facilitate the export process and reach the international market.
This system is used by more than 200 countries. Algeria was the first to use it, as it seeks to protect the national product. Compulsory identification of the country of origin of goods will be introduced as a new mechanism for the protection of the Algerian trade market while protecting Algerian institutions and exporters.
This initiative will help us a lot in exporting Algerian products.
These mechanisms will help to consolidate partnership between the customs services and exporting institutions while facilitating the process for Algerian products to enter the global market.
To parliamentary activity now for projects of organic bills related to the territorial organization of the country, the competences of the Council of the State and the judicial assistance were adopted on Monday at the National People's Assembly or the lower house of parliament. The vote took place during a plenary session led by the chairman of the lower house of parliament, Brahim Boughali, in the presence of the Minister of Justice, Abdurrashid Qibbi, and the Minister of Parliamentary Relations, Basma Azwar. Moving on now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ramtal Amamra, was received in Cairo by the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as part of his working visit to Egypt in his capacity as personal envoy of the President of the Republic. On this occasion, the head of diplomacy delivered to the President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, a message from President Abdelmajid Tebboune, as well as his distinguished greetings and his wishes for progress and prosperity, peace and stability for Egypt. Algeria condemned in the strongest terms the attacks targeted today the area of Abu Dhabi International Airport, leaving 3 people dead and many injured in the UAE, extending to the families of the victims the most sincere condolences and wishing the injured a speedy recovery. To COVID-19 situation in Algeria now, the surge of infections is on the rise. In fact, 692 new confirmed cases of coronavirus, 402 recoveries and 11 new deaths were recorded in the last 24 hours, according to the Health Ministry. The Transport Ministry announced the resumption of Air Algérie company flights towards Egypt and Switzerland starting from January 25th. The Egyptian and Swiss Airlines companies will be notified with their respective flights number in line with the reciprocity norms. A vaccination campaign was launched within university community, staff and students from the country's faculties, institutes and university schools are concerned. This is the second operation of its kind after the one organized in 2021. A similar campaign is underway in schools. It's worth recalling that the COVID-19 vaccine is free and available to the general public. The UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Stéphane de Mistura, visited several Sahrawi facilities and settlements where he obtained comprehensive information on the different aspects of life of the Sahrawi refugees, including educational and humanitarian ones. On the second day of his visit to the Sahrawi refugee camps, de Mistura visited the headquarters of the Sahrawi National Commission on Human Rights, where he was received by its president, Abbas Salik al-Hussein. The latter gave him a comprehensive presentation on the human rights situation in the occupied Sahrawi cities, as well as the suffering of the Sahrawi civilians and activists in the occupied territories. Stéphane de Mistura was also received by the Sahrawi President, the Secretary General Brahim Ghali. The Sahrawi president reaffirmed in talks with the UN envoy the position of the Polisario Front in favor of a fair and equitable solution capable of guaranteeing the Sahrawi people their right to self-determination and full independence as enshrined in the UN and African resolutions, an agreement signed by the Polisario Front and Morocco in 1991. Moving on, the Sahrawi human rights activist Sultana Khaya once again denounced the Moroccan occupation forces' brutal acts and the daily suffering that she and her family are enduring. Sultana Khaya, who escaped an assassination attempt, is under house arrest and often threatened with attacks. Melissa Kobash has more details.
Under house arrest for more than a year, The Sahrawi activist Sultana Khaya, now back from Spain, expressed her suffering following her support for the Sahrawi cause and shared her dark experience of brutality, terror, torture and daily intimidation by the Moroccan security forces in front of the UN and human rights organization that didn't intervene so as to put an end to her suffering nor that of the oppressed people. Khaya's sister was also a subject of threats, imprisonment, arrest and multiple interrogations. Sultana Khaya denounced once again the violent acts committed by the Moroccan security forces against her and her family during their house arrest. According to her, the worst violence she endured was her rape in front of her mother. The icon of the Sahrawi cause, Sultana Khaya, finally called on all individuals devoted to freedom and justice to intervene to protect the Sahrawi people who keep suffering from the Moroccan occupation forces.
In the words of the boss of the Algerian Football Association, Sharfuddin Amara, the president of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, reiterated in a phone call his support to the national football team, the technical staff, as well as the players.
To the Algerian people who have backed us during this African tournament, and above all the President of the Republic who called me and showed his full support to the national team, the technical staff and players in all circumstances.
For his part, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Lieutenant General Said Shingriha, expressed his full support for the national team in all circumstances, wishing them all the best in the next game. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, our news comes to a close. Thank you for tuning into our program, and good night.